Something is rotten in the town of Milton Haven. A toxic flood has swept across the city, shadowy monsters prowl its streets, and the only person to have apparently survived the catastrophe is Desmond Wales, a therapist who is in need of, well, therapy. Developed by We Create Stuff and published by Modus, In Sound Mind is a psychological horror FPS structured in the tradition of Resident Evil. But with a lovable talking cat, vibrant colors, and an endearing personality, In Sound Mind finds footing as a simultaneously familiar and unique horror comedy experience. With In Sound Mind, We Create Stuff attempts a precarious balance. This is a game about mental health, about PTSD, trauma, and abuse. But it's also a game that wants to entertain and stay lighthearted and humorous. In Sound Mind doesn't only want to tell a meaningful story, but also a fun one. Conspiratorial government cover-ups and corporate expansion severely disrupt the everyday lives and mental health of Milton Haven's citizens, all leading to the town's Twilight Zone-esque run-in with dark forces. For Desmond specifically, In Sound Mind is a journey against self-doubt and guilt. The events in Milton Haven have led to the deaths of some of his patients, and Desmond wonders if it is he that should be to blame. While subtlety in Sound Mind is at Hideo Kojima levels of non-existence, I think, for the most part, the game does a solid job treating its heavy content with empathy and thoughtfulness. Desmond wakes up in the basement of his apartment building, confused and unaware as to how he got there. The building serves as a hub, a jumping-off point to other areas centered around Desmond's patients, like their homes or places that were flashpoints for their trauma. Listening to recorded sessions between Desmond and his patients takes you to these flashpoints, each a level with its own puzzles and challenges. The experiences of Desmond's patients provide clues to the underhanded evil at play in Milton Haven, an overarching mystery that unravels as the game goes on, but his patients are also mysteries themselves. What happened to them, their lives leading up to this moment, and their relationship with Desmond is all revealed as you listen to their tapes and explore their levels. In each instance, the negative side effects of his patient's mental health, their self-hatred, rage, and sadness, manifest into each level's main antagonist, and I think this is where we get into some tricky territory. Horror, as a genre, has a history of portraying mental illness and those struggling with mental health as dangerous or frightening. It's a trope that's been around for a long time. In Sound Mind, the negative effects of Desmond's patient's mental health are dangerous both to themselves as well as Desmond, serving as the central obstacle for you to overcome, and I'd understand those uncomfortable with this framing. Strictly from a gameplay standpoint, this is done through some light run-and-hide horror, a haunting fluorescent ghost or rumbling mechanical bullhead that'll chase you down if you don't stay out of sight. These levels and the puzzles within are varied, clever, and explode within Sound Mind's endearing sense of humor. I audibly laughed at some of its digs at video game horror tropes, and it always kept me guessing as to what's around the corner and how things I passed by changed. The sheer creativity on display here is awesome. Fantastic level design that constantly has you swapping between different tools at Desmond's disposal, like a shard of glass that reveals hidden or obscured objects, which stay on screen for a few seconds after you spot them. Throw in some creepy shadow monsters to shoot at or sneak by, and In Sound Mind creates and sustains a great ebb and flow of action and atmospheric puzzling from start to finish. Importantly, In Sound Mind does take time to unpack each of Desmond's patients. They are not emotionless, inhuman monsters. Through written and spoken dialogue, In Sound Mind asks you to empathize and understand them. You learn quite a bit about their lives, and great voice acting gives form to their fears, frustrations, and insecurities, perhaps even demystifying any fear you may feel toward them. Each level ends with a final confrontation, a mix of therapy session and puzzling that frees their humanity, previously consumed by emotion. In Sound Mind never treats these antagonists as evil or villainous, but people in need of help, living in a town and world that, for a number of reasons, has become incapable of helping them. In Sound Mind has its share of stumbles. Pills play a prominent role, increasing Desmond's health, stealth, speed, and stamina for every 3 of a kind you find. At one point, though, you literally toss pills at a patient to calm them down, which, while I don't think has any malicious intent, is a tad too on the nose for my taste. And as much as In Sound Mind humanizes its antagonists, I do wish it gave us more dialogue between them and Desmond that wasn't through tape recorders. I've struggled to think of what In Sound Mind wants to say about mental health specifically, but what it does do is present mental health within the context of a well-built world. These are not people struggling for no reason. A line can be drawn from their declining mental health straight to the secret events enveloping Milton Haven. As fantastical and conspiratorial as those events are, they also have elements that are realistic and relatable. Look around these levels and you'll notice the dominance of certain corporate brands, from electronics to pharmaceuticals. These corporations' ubiquity gives them virtual ownership of Milton Haven. If you've ever lived in a small town or pay for internet, you'll likely know what it's like to rely on a single uncaring corporate conglomerate for a lot of life's necessities. I had little idea of what to expect heading into InSound Mind, and after completing it, I am pleasantly surprised. InSound Mind certainly takes risks, not only with gameplay, but in juggling different tones and content. For the most part though, I think it tackles heavy topics successfully and compassionately, all while staying unpredictable, lighthearted, and empathetic.